Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. This is the news. We are live on the 3rd of June. I'm not Jay Marty, but I'm close. This is live, like I said, so make sure you hit the like button. Also, get your comments in. We'll be going through those in just a moment. We've got some big news coming up today. A few big stories coming out of Manchester United. We're talking about Darwin Nunez. A bid has reportedly been tabled for the, Benfica star, I suppose you'd call him. Also, the latest update on Frankie de Jong. Right, it's getting to the point now where Frankie de Jong needs to start taking the hint. They're trying to get him out, and he's just going, I'm happy here. It's getting a bit sad at this point. We'll get into that in just a minute. And also, Facundo Pellistri has been impressing for Uruguay, and we'll look into whether the time is right for him to make his push to the first team at Manchester United. But before all that, let's get into this interesting story about Frankie de Jong, because it's a very weird one, this, right? It's almost like, do you know, sometimes you'll see it in a relationship where someone will go, one person in the relationship will speak to the other and go, you know what, it's not you, it's me. And they're going, no, I'm happy here. And they're going, nah, you won't be happy with me. I'm no good for you, Frankie. Barcelona's no good for you. And he's going, nah, I love it here. And they go, no, what I'm trying to say is, you wouldn't like it here at Barcelona anymore. Things have changed. It's no good. And he's going, no, honestly, I love it. And he's getting to the point now where they're going, Frankie, just fucking listen to what I'm saying here. Get out! Right? So Xavi spoke with Frankie de Jong and explained that his possible departure would be conditioned by the economic situation. You go, yeah, fair enough. We knew that already, right? He also explained that the board was not particularly happy with his performances, which I love. I did that, and they're going, you know what? I tell you what, we bloody love you, Frankie. And he's going, oh, cheers, I love it. And they go, the only reason we'd ever get rid of you is because, the board and they're just financially, you know how it is. And he's going, oh, don't worry about that. I'll stay anyway. And they're going, you're also shit, mate. And he's going, all right, okay, this is getting a bit personal. This honestly feels to me like Barcelona know he needs to go. They're dropping every hint he possibly can. And de Jong is just not getting the hints. So now they're having to go in on his performances as well. I honestly, and again, this is based on no inside information other than what we've seen and what we've seen from Barcelona over the past couple of years with the likes of Messi. I know that was a whole different thing with the contract, but Suarez in particular, where he was kind of just forced out. He didn't really want to leave. He still had time left on his contract, I think, but they needed his wages back. They wanted to sign new players and they couldn't do it while someone was on his sort of money. I think the same situation looks to be happening with Frankie de Jong. I genuinely think week by week we're slowly seeing more and more of an admission from Barcelona that they need to get rid of Frankie de Jong. And like I said, at first it was, there's a financial thing going on here. And now, apparently Xavi's told Frankie de Jong the board aren't happy with his performances. So it's not just financial now, it's also a playing thing. There aren't many more different criteria that you can use to get rid of a player. He's not good enough, and we need the money. All right, what's keeping him there? Nothing. Other than Frankie de Jong's will to stay, and the fact United haven't offered enough money yet, I don't see any reason why he's staying. They're either going to, force him to take a huge pay cut, which he might well be willing to do if he absolutely loves being there, of course. But if they're bringing his performances into this now, that suggests to me that there are sort of unfixable problems here. There's no way that you can talk to a player and say, we need the money for you and you're shit, and he stays. Why would he, there's no reason for him to stay, is there? I really don't understand that. Jamie Gillespie says that Barca's sitting with their new boyfriend and now Frankie still thinks their relationship is as strong as ever. There is a bit of that. Lewandowski's come in. You're hanging around with Lewandowski quite a lot. Yeah, don't worry about him. But he's on the same wages that I'm on. Yeah, I said, don't worry about him. We're just friends. All of a sudden, Frankie, we don't think you're good enough for me, mate. Is it because Lewandowski? Yeah, that is why, yeah. It's very weird. And to a certain extent, I do feel some sympathy for Frankie de Jong because obviously it's been pretty well reported that Barcelona is his dream club. He wanted to play there since he was a kid. He's there now. He's been with them through their most sort of difficult time of the last 20 years pretty much. And now they're sort of seemingly coming out of it or, turning things around to a certain extent. He's one of the people that's getting the boot or looking like he might be. Again, it's not necessarily the greatest foundation for a player to join Man United. His old club didn't want him anymore. I guess he'll come to United. But I think the Ten Hag link is, for me, what makes me not worried too much about this. if this was a manager that he'd never worked with before, in a club he didn't really want to join, there's a lot of reasons to think Frankie de Jong wouldn't be a success at Manchester United. The fact that Ten Hag is there, he's not going to be surprised by the work rate or the intensity or the difficulty of the training sessions or the expectations of him as a human being and a man. He's not going to be intimidated or caught unawares by any of that. He knows who Erik Ten Hag is. He knows what he expects. And I think this would be a great signing for Manchester United. And like I said, I don't see how he doesn't leave Barcelona. He's either taking a big pay cut or he's leaving. And based on the ruthlessness and the way Barca have sort of conducted their business over the last 2 years, I would be surprised if he didn't leave. The fact that they're now saying, yeah, we said it was just a financial thing, but actually the board aren't happy with the way you're playing, that seems difficult to overcome to me. I don't see what's keeping him there. Those are the two things. Is it financially viable? No. Is he good enough? No. Right, what's he doing here then? Well, he wants to be here. I don't think that'll hold him there for much longer at all. De Jong and Fred might be decent for us. I think those two could work. I think they still need someone who's more disciplined around them. I think you need someone who holds their position better than either of those two. They both like to roam. Fred's a more industrious sort of workhorse, ball recovery sort of specialist, and De Jong is more of a industrious dribbling, passing specialist. We need someone behind those two, or alongside either of those two, who can hold their position, win the ball back, and just play it short. A Rodri type of player. Let's move on to our next story then, and this is a big one coming out of the Express, but they're reporting Portuguese outlet Correio de Manhã, and this is that Manchester United have tabled a huge Darwin Nunez swap deal offer. All the words there. All the exciting words you can possibly have in a transfer, they are all coming out for this one. Manchester United are in the mix to sign Darwin Nunez from Benfica this summer's transfer window, and they have reportedly lodged a huge swap deal offer for a Benfica striker, Darwin Nunez. The Uruguay international was in outstanding form last season. We get that at 30 goals across all competitions. Yeah, we know. And now the deal appears to be edging closer. United are losing Cavani this summer. And while the future of Mason Greenwood and Anthony Martial are also shrouded in uncertainty for very different reasons, let me add. And now the Portuguese outlet Correio de Manhã claim United have tabled a big offer. So here's the offer that United have supposedly put in for Darwin Nunez. It's stated that a bid of 64 million up front has been submitted, with the Red Devils, that's United, also willing to pay a further 17 million in bonuses. And what's more, they've apparently included Andreas Pereira in their offer. Until recently, the Brazilian international was expected to join Flamengo on a permanent basis, having spent the last 2 years there. The interesting thing for me is, why? Why is Andreas Pereira in that? I reckon we've put him at the very bottom clause of that contract. Like, oh yeah, 64 million up front, 17 million bonuses. What shoe size is it? Well, it was just for getting him some boots and stuff for his sponsor. Shoe size, here's where he's going to live, here's Andreas Pereira. What? And we've thrown in Andreas Pereira. Did we ask for him? No. But we put him in anyway. So they wanted 64 million, and we've gone, how about 64 million and Andreas Pereira? Like he's taking the value down. We don't want to give you the full 64, because that's a lot. So we'll give you 64 plus Andreas Pereira, just knock it down a little bit. I don't understand why they've done that, because according to the reports, that's how much they wanted anyway. So we've just basically given them Pereira for free, which, fair enough. He's not going to get a game for United, I can't imagine. Again, Correio de Manhã, I'm not entirely certain on quite how reliable they are. But again, they're presumably somewhat well-placed being in Portugal where Nunez is playing. But to me, this would make sense. I don't know about the Pereira bit of it necessarily, but 64 million just feels like a lot. The player makes sense. He's an up-and-coming, goal-scoring machine that is a sort of target man style player. He likes to hold the ball up. He likes to bring other people into the game, sometimes off the left-hand side, sometimes from that number 9 position, which kind of fits alongside the sort of Sebastian Haller type player that we saw Ajax and Ten Hag implement so well last season. But it's a lot of money for someone that's basically had one good year. And I believe he's had knee injuries in the past as well, so he's not someone that's, been completely free of ailment in his career. It's just a lot of money, that. 64 million quid is a lot of money. David Smith says swaps never happen. I used to say that all the time. That used to be something I really did agree with, because I almost felt like swaps were basically the newspapers bringing as many different players and teams' names into an article as possible to get more clicks. Because if you talk about, Andreas Pereira being swapped with Darwin Nunez, now you've got Flamengo fans, you've got Brazilian fans, you've got United fans, you've got Benfica fans, you've got Uruguayan fans because of Nunez. Whereas if you take, Pereira out, you've lost half of those, or you've lost some of those. I always used to feel it was a way to bring in, the fans of multiple players and different nationalities to come and read your article. But I think in a world now where the finances of football seem to be getting out of hand, even for the big clubs, you look at Barca, Real Madrid, so many teams that, the richest clubs in the world are struggling financially. There's a lot more big players leaving on a free. Look at the PSG's summer last year, getting, Wijnaldum and Donnarumma and Messi and Ramos and, top world-class players all on a free. The only person they played for was Hakimi. The swap deal is more enticing now than ever, because you cut out, the need for big sums of money going either way. Or you can do what Barcelona and Juventus did with the Artur deal. Who was it? Artur swapping with, I can't remember his name, the midfielder for Juventus, where they spent 60 million on each other, which is more than either of those players were worth. But it meant that you could put the sale of a player down as this year's finances. So you sell Artur to Juventus for 60 million quid, and you buy their midfielder for 60 million quid. It was Pjanic, thank you. You buy Pjanic for 60 million. You can put the money you've just got for your player down for this year's finances, so 60 million in, and you can put the money you've spent on their player over the next 5 years in installments. You can split that up into 5 years of, 9 million quid-ish each, and only put your outgoings as 9 million quid. And therefore you've made 51 million quid this year, even though that money hasn't even really changed hands and neither of those players were worth it. That's the sort of deal I think we're going to be seeing more and more now, as even the biggest clubs in the world are struggling financially. Yasha says, rather go for Isaac, Boadu, or Jonathan David, who are proven. The thing is, you say they're proven, they're not. Jonathan David banging goals in the French league, Isaac getting a few goals in Spain. I just don't think that would be considered proven. Both playing for sort of teams who are, good teams but not top teams. I think proven, mine and your definitions are slightly different. But yeah, I think the idea of a swap deal is more likely now than ever. I just don't really see why we're paying the amount that they want, which is 64 million quid, and we're giving them a player, and we're giving 17 million in bonuses. The reports were that they wanted 100 million euros as the sort of overall package. So 64 million, 17 million in bonuses. That takes it up to, 81 million quid, which is around 90 million euros. And then the value of Pereira on top takes it over 100 million euros. I think that's the Benfica's in their head. They want 100 million euros for this guy. But it just seems a lot to me. Right, let's move on then. Facundo Pellistri yesterday starring in Uruguay's, was it a win? I believe it was a win. Nice assist for Edinson Cavani. I think that the point here more than anything is he someone that should be making his way into the United first team? He's been on loan at Alaves for the last season, I think 2 seasons actually. Not really scoring or assisting particularly at all for them. If you look at his stats, which again I haven't been watching Alaves, so all I can go on is the stats. I simply don't have hours of footage of him at Alaves rolling around my mind. You look at the stats, he's not giving much output whatsoever. His highest sort of percentile, the thing that he's best at compared to other attackers is blocking, which doesn't mean that he couldn't improve, doesn't mean that he hasn't got some good qualities. We saw how quick he was yesterday in that game. For anyone who hasn't seen that, it's all over Twitter. Just Google, go on Twitter and search Pellistri assist. It's a really good turn of pace, squares the ball quite with some good composure to Cavani, but he hasn't really done it in the last 2 years. And this isn't at United standard, this is at Alaves. It just seems like one of those signings that I'm not quite sure why we did it. I'm not giving up on him because, he's a young player and plenty of young players improve. I just don't quite see how he fits in. Let me know if you think differently, if you think he could be someone for the future, someone that could play a part next season or the year after. Again, he's now 20 years old, which is still a very young player, but the top players tend to have a bit more sort of experience than he does by the age of 20, which is a bit of a concern. Again, maybe I'm being slightly too harsh here, but his stats don't make for particularly optimistic reading. Pralad NV with the super chat says, United should not go for De Jong if he wants to stay at Barca. We need players who want to play and die for the badge. What I will say about that is, whilst fundamentally I agree, United need players that want to play for United. That goes without saying. Just because he wants to play for Barca more doesn't mean he doesn't want to play for United, and doesn't mean that he wouldn't die for the badge and work hard for it. Not every player that plays for United was a fan of us growing up. Not every player, has only ever wanted to play for Man United and everyone else is shit. There's been plenty of players throughout our history who have been fantastic for Manchester United who weren't United fans. Look at Cristiano Ronaldo. He wanted to play for Real Madrid growing up. Would you ever deny the amount of effort and work and time and hard work spent making Manchester United the best team in Europe? No. And that's not because he was a United fan growing up. It's because he's got professional pride and brilliant work ethic that goes from club to club, regardless of how much he wanted to play for them growing up, or whether he'd rather be somewhere else or not. If Ten Hag knows De Jong's character, he'll know whether, despite wanting to play for Barcelona a bit more, whether he'd still give 100% for United. And I think, to me, that's all you can ask. Someone like Okonomi Katsu there saying better sign Declan Rice. Well, we know he'd rather play for Chelsea, so does that mean that he'd be shit for United? Absolutely not. Players play for clubs that they didn't grow up supporting, that they might rather be somewhere else. It doesn't mean they don't put 100% in. That's about searching for the character of the person rather than just, who their dream club is. Right, that's going to be all from me. Again, there you go. Wayne Rooney's an Everton fan. He's our all-time leading goal scorer. He did try and leave a couple of times, but we'll forget that. Right, that's going to be all from me. We'll be back this afternoon with the brew. We also did a video yesterday talking about some of the absolutely mad contracts that United have been giving out over the last decade. Make sure you check that out if you haven't already. We go through some of the details of the players that are leaving, some that want to leave or that we're trying to get rid of but we can't, and looking at just the effect that Woodward and Judge as a negotiation policy has had on Manchester United over the last decade. Check that out if you haven't already. Also, please hit subscribe if you haven't. We'll see you in a bit.